Hello, welcome to my bookshelf, and today I wanted to show you all the nonfiction books that I've hauled so far this month. This is the second part of a two-part video series. The last video I did was all the fictional books I had hauled because I had hauled so many books at the same time. So I decided to separate them into fiction versus nonfiction. And so this video is only nonfiction and memoirs, and the other one is only fiction. So check out the last video as well. So let's get started. The first three books I'm going to show you are memoirs, and then the rest are all just other random nonfiction. So, here we go. The first book that I hauled is called Stuck in the Middle with You by Jennifer Finney Boylan. I'm not really sure. Now, this is actually a really interesting premise. Basically, this is a memoir of a man who was a father for 6 years and then transitioned into being a mother for 10 years after that. And then this is kind of the memory of that whole experience of changing from being a father into kind of this weird in-between into becoming a mother. And this is definitely a very controversial topic, but I think that regardless of where you stand on it, I think it is really important to read what it's like to be that person and to have that experience. And since I don't have any personal experience with this, I thought that this would be a really good book to read and kind of get in the mindset of someone who's experiencing that. So that's why I got this book, on top of the fact that it was only $1, so it makes it a lot easier for me to go out and buy a book about something I'm not that familiar with, but I am really interested into understanding a bit better. So I'm really excited to read this and kind of see what that's like for her. And yeah, Stuck in the Middle with You. Okay, so the next book is called The Unbreakable Boy by Scott M. Lorette with Susie Flory. Now this story is written by Scott, who is Austin's father, and Austin is a teenage boy. He loves pizza, movies, dancing, and girls, but unlike most other 18-year-olds, he has a rare brittle bone disease, was locked in a mental ward as a child, and is autistic. Yet Austin doesn't let any of that stop him. So this is a book told by his father's perspective and what that was like for him and his experience with his son and obviously his fears and concerns for his son. So this is really a story about a father and his son and their relationship together and how they're able to overcome these difficult circumstances in their lives. And it just sounded really uplifting and interesting. And again, I'm not that familiar with someone who has autism or who has this brittle bone disease. I'm really excited to kind of see what that's like and to see what his experience was. So I'm really excited about this book, The Unbreakable Boy. Okay, so the next book that I hauled is called A Long Way Gone by Ishmael Bea? Not really sure. And again, this sounded really interesting because I also have no experience with this whatsoever. But as you can see, it says Memoirs of a Boy Soldier. And apparently, at age 12, Ishmael fled attacking rebels and wandered a land rendered unrecognizable by violence. By 13, he'd been picked up by the government army. At heart, a gentle boy, found that he was capable of truly terrible acts. At 16, he was removed from fighting by the UNICEF. And through the help of the staff of this rehabilitation center, he learned how to forgive himself, to regain his humanity, and finally to heal. So that sounds like a really, really interesting and powerful story, which I'm really excited to read more about because, again, I have no experience with that kind of lifestyle. And obviously, as much as I would like to think that this doesn't happen, it clearly does. And so I wanted to learn more about what that's like, at least from Ishmael's perspective. And I also am really excited that this is a happy ending story. Like, it sounds like he's able to forgive himself and move on, even though he has gone through all these terrible things and has even committed terrible acts himself. I think that this is a really powerful and interesting story. So I'm really excited to read this. A Long Way Gone. Okay, so the next book that I hauled, I'm also super excited about. I'd heard about this for a long time, but I've never gotten it. And that's The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. If you don't know, this is a really interesting and powerful idea for any couples, but really even just any person dealing with another person. And basically the idea is that there are 5 love languages, that there's 5 different ways of showing and receiving love from other people. And certain people are more attuned to certain love languages, and so those are the kinds of things that they look for. And if they don't get those kind of things, they don't feel loved and appreciated. Even if the other person is trying to show them that they do love them, it's just not through the way that they need. So the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, so like compliments and things like that, quality time, which is just like it sounds like, actually spending time with another person. There's receiving gifts, and again, straightforward, people give gifts to show that they love and appreciate someone. Acts of service, which again, this is just straightforward. It's basically just doing something for someone else, doing the laundry for someone. And then of course, physical touch. So hugs and kissing, whatever kind of relationship you have, but things like that. I think that this is why men and women have such problems with each other, because I do think that men and women tend to have different love languages, so they might be trying to show that they love each other, but it's not really being perceived the same way from the other end, because maybe the wife wants, some quality time, but the husband thinks that he's giving love by giving her gifts, or acts of service by working at his job all day. That's kind of a stereotypical example, but you get my point. I think that this is a really good book to really understand how relationships work, and how if we know each other's love languages, we can better love each other. So I think that this is a really powerful and interesting book that I think that everyone should read. I just think it's good for any kind of relationship. Mother, father, brother, sister, best friends, especially husbands and wives. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really curious to see what my love languages are. Okay, so the next book that I hauled is called Ex Mornica. And again, I don't really know much about this. I just thought it was really cool. And it just says here, paradoxical wit and wisdom from history's greatest wordsmiths. And this is put together by Dr. Marty Grate? Not really sure. But basically, there's different sections. So we got advice, and it's just a lot of different quotes from very famous authors. So we got When a Dog Runs at You, Whistle for Him by Henry David Thoreau. And there's just a whole bunch of them. And it looks like at some points the author of the book is also giving like their explanation of whatever the quote is, or it's more than just quotes. There's also things by the author. So I just thought this was a really cool, cute book, and I'm excited to see what famous authors have said about different topics. I just think it's really fun, so Ex Mornica. Okay, so the next book on my list is The Drunkard's Walk: How Randomness Rules Our Lives by Leonard Mlodinow. Again, this just sounded really interesting. I had never heard about it beforehand. So basically, the whole point of this book is that Leonard is demonstrating how our lives are profoundly informed by chance and randomness, and how everything from wine ratings and corporate success to school grades and political polls are less reliable than we believe. And that by showing us the true nature of chance and revealing the psychological illusions that cause us to misjudge the world around us, he gives us the tools we need to make more informed decisions. So, having read that, I was like, I need to read this book. We have so much information being thrown at us. It can be really hard at times to know what is true and right, and are they just putting an angle on this? And I do think that books that help us become more critical thinkers are really important, so I'm excited for this book. It sounds like that's what this is going to be about, so I'm excited. The Drunkard's Walk. Okay, so the next book that I hauled is called The Bliss List: Discover What Truly Makes You Happy, Then Land Your Dream Job by J.P. Hansen. And this is more or less a self-help book. This is to help you identify your bliss, what you truly desire to do with your life. And then it's supposed to help give you practical, step-by-step advice on how to write a killer resume, ace tough interviews, and decide whether the offers you get will actually fulfill your bliss. So this seems like a very straightforward, practical tips on how to get the job of your dreams. And who doesn't want that? I'm kind of in that stage of my life where I'm about to make really important career decisions, so when I saw this book, I was really excited. Plus, all the beautiful colors, how could I not get this? It seems really helpful, so I'm really excited about the Bliss List. Okay, so the next book that I hauled is called Up: How Positive Outlook Can Transform Our Health and Aging by Hilary Tyndall. As soon as I saw this cover, I just knew I had to get it because this is kind of my philosophy in life, is to be positive and to have a better outlook on life. And so obviously when I saw that, you know, a medical doctor and MPH, not really sure what that is, has written about this topic, I was really excited to see what her point of view was and like the evidence to back it up, and I'm assuming some kind of hints and tips on how to actually do this. So again, because I'm a pretty positive person, optimistic if you will, I was really excited to read this book. And again, I got all these books I'm showing you for $1, so I just had to get this book. So I'm really excited about Up. And if this is anything like the movie Up by Pixar, this will be amazing. So the last book that I hauled this month is Think Like a Freak by Stephen D. Levitt and Stephen D. Dubner. Why it's called Think Like a Freak is because it's by the authors of Freakonomics. Basically, this book is to help us retrain our brain and how we think about things. As you can see, that's a theme throughout all the books that I've gotten. I like books that help me think about things critically and not just assume anything. I like to use my noggin. So I'm really excited about this, and I've also heard good things about Freakonomics, the book, so I'm really excited to read a book by them. So I'm really excited to think like a freak. Okay, so that was my book haul this month. This was really fun. I hope that you enjoyed my list. And I'm also really curious if you've heard of these books. Have you read them? Do they look interesting to you? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And until next time,